one clip from our Bible study discussion every Tuesday night from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. in Pakalani. Please enjoy.
The teaching today is going to be about powers and principalities. And I want to go deeper into what that actually looks like in the world we live in. So if someone could please just switch to Ezekiel 28 from 1 to 19 and just read that out first, please. Ezekiel 28, 1 to 19.
You said 1 to 19.
Yeah, 1 to 19.
Ezekiel 28.
Yeah, Ezekiel 28.
Okay. Should I read?
Yeah, go for it.
Ezekiel 28. Then this message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, give the prince of Tyre this message from the sovereign Lord. In your great pride you claim, I am a god. I sit on a divine throne in the heart of the sea, but you are only a man and not a god. Though you boast that you are a god, you regard yourself as wiser than Daniel, and think no secret is hidden from you. With your wisdom and understanding you have amassed great wealth, gold and silver for your treasuries. Yes, your wisdom has made you very rich, and your riches have made you very proud. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Because you think you are as wise as a god, I will now bring against you a foreign enemy, the terror of the nations. They will draw their swords against your marvelous wisdom and defile your splendor. They will bring you down to the pit, and you will die in the heart of the sea, pierced with many wounds. Will you then boast, I am a god, to those who kill you? To them you will be no god, but merely a man. You will die like an outcast at the hands of foreigners. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. Then this further message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, sing this funeral song for the king of Tyre. Give him this message from the sovereign Lord. You are the model of perfection, full of wisdom and exquisite in beauty. You are in Eden, the garden of God. Your clothing was adorned with every precious stone. Red, carnelian, pale green, peridot, white moonstone, blue-green beryl, points, green jasper, blue lapis lazuli, turquoise, and emerald, all beautifully crafted for you and set in the finest gold. They were given to you on the day you were created. I ordained and anointed you as the mighty angelic guardian. You had access to the holy mountain of God and walked among the stones of fire. You are blameless in all you did, from the day you were created until the day evil was found in you. Your rich commerce lured you to violence, and you sinned. So I banished you in disgrace in the mountain of God. I expelled you, Almighty Guardian, from your place among the stones of fire. Your heart was full of pride because of all your beauty. Your wisdom was corrupted by your love of splendor. So I threw you to the ground and exposed you to curious gaze of kings. You defiled your sanctuaries with your many sins and your dishonest trade. So I brought a fire out from within you, and it consumed you. I reduced you to ashes on the ground in the sight of all who were watching. Oh, 19.
Yes. No, that's okay. It's okay there. And I wanted you guys to notice something very strange about this particular passage. The beginning, when he says the prince of Tyre, he's talking to a person. And then halfway through, he searches and he's no longer talking to a person. The king of Tyre is actually not a person. If you read through the verse, it even tells us specifics that you are like a cherub among the heavenly beings. It goes on about all of these angelic qualities the king of Tyre had. And the reason that there's that difference between the two of them is what we're going to talk about today. The powers and principalities that rule over us. So I'm going to go to, just to add on to this verse, I'm going to go to Exodus 12, from 10 to 12. I want to read what God says in that particular passage, and I want to just put it all together. Yeah. You shall let nothing of the meat remain until the morning, and the bones and the edible bits which remain of it until morning you shall burn with fire. And you shall eat it, and thus your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, you shall eat it, and it shall be the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and I will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, against all of the gods of Egypt. That's what it says. I will execute judgment among the gods of Egypt. I am the Lord. Do you see how he actually says it? That I will bring judgment upon the gods of Egypt. He's not talking about them like the empty idols. Do you see what's happening there? That again, the same transition takes place. He's not talking about them like the empty idols. And in Daniel 7, when Daniel meets the angel Gabriel, what does he say to him? That I was supposed to be here sooner, but I couldn't because I had to fight the prince of Persia until Michael came to my aid. And that also explains why sometimes it feels like your prayers are not being answered. Because those principalities are fighting the messengers of God around you. This is why prayer is so important. This is why patience and having faith in the Lord is so important. But I wanted us to read these verses so that we understand that when it talks about powers and principalities, it's not an abstract thing. It's a very real thing that impacts us every day, even if you don't realize it. I mean, me and Mike, how many times have we talked about the thrones that people be on? Where we've seen this among leaders. A leader will come in and say, I will be different from the previous person. I am going to be like this. I'm going to be like that. I'm going to do this differently. And then as soon as they take that position of power, they immediately start behaving like their predecessor. What do you think is causing that? Right? What makes people do that? That they're so determined to be one thing, and then as soon as they leave, they enter that position of power, they completely turn to something else. I remember I was watching a documentary by who was he? Richard Nixon from Watergate, the famous American president. And he said half the things he did in office, he has no idea what was going through his mind. You imagine? The president, he said this, that half the things he did, he couldn't tell you why he did them. And this is where, again, the armor that God provides us is so important. Whether it's the regenerative power of baptism, whether it's taking communion every week to consume of his blood and his body to protect you from all of these evils that are around us. And that this is also why it's important not to hold people's sins against them the way we do sometimes. Because it's not always the person in front of you that's doing the thing. It's easy for me to point at Mike or Rumbi and say, you did ABC or you did this, but what influenced that? What is the prevailing force that is making them behave that way? And there's a verse from Timothy I want to read as well. Timothy, where is it? Yeah, here it is. Timothy 2:1-2. It says, I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. Please note that it doesn't say we have to like the leader that we're praying for. We don't have to like them, but we still need to pray for them. Because these powers and principalities, those are the targets. Those are the people that they're looking at in order for them to influence the environment that we live in. Because sometimes whenever I read, not just me, but most people, when you read this, it almost sounds abstract because we can't see them. You know what I mean? It sounds like a distant thing, or it's some sort of metaphor, but it's not. It's a real thing that's all around us, that is impacting us every day. And this is where, again, the armor of God comes into place. And this is where, again, grace is so important. Not just for us to ask for God's grace, but for us to give grace to the people around us. Because if you're not within the assembly with us, if you're not within the body of Christ, you are going to be susceptible to these things. So this includes even our families, right? Our work colleagues. That person at your office who torments you and makes your life miserable. Be careful when you judge them, because it might not be them that's behaving that way. It might be something else driving that behavior. Be humble, because then when you take up that position, you'll be the one those principalities are looking at. It's going to be on you to have the strength and the faith to fight them off. It's going to be on you now in that moment to decide, who are you going to follow, God or Satan? Those are some of the choices we're going to be faced with as we advance in our lives, and this is the reason why. Because of the powers and the principalities that surround us. And there's just one more verse I'm going to read before I close this, and then we can open discussions. In Psalm 96:5, David says, the gods of other nations are demons. That's what he says. The gods of other nations are demons. Psalm 96:5. 96 verse 5.
That's the whole verse.
Yeah, the gods of other nations are demons. And it's an interesting verse, because in Deuteronomy 32:8 it says, God assigns guardian angels to watch over different nations which he divided humanity with. Which also ties in with the fall of man, that these angels are the ones that have fallen, and in their fallen state have become the powers and principalities that we're fighting. And the thing, again, when it comes to this is where, again, it keeps going back to grace. For someone who isn't within the body of Christ, this is going to sound outrageous. But remember, if you do not believe in this, it does not mean it cannot influence you. It's very important to remember. Just because you don't believe in it doesn't mean it can't influence you. In fact, that's actually when you're most susceptible. Because if you think the only type of intelligence is your own, how are you going to identify when something else is guiding you? Again, this is where humility is key. Faith is key. And this is where all of the sacraments that the Lord has given us help us every day. When you are praying and fasting and developing your discipline, it's so that when decisive moments like this come up in your life, it's second nature to you to do the right thing. When you are trying to be more like God and you're taking part in communion every week or whenever they do it at your church, again, you are staying one with the body of Christ. You are under that umbrella of protection. Because without it, this is what the world actually looks like. There's evil all around us constantly. You know, one of the things I learned, and this is the final note. I said it the first time, and this is the final note. One of the things I learned that my priest had told me is there's no particular day for salvation. It's a never-ending process that begins before we even become Christians. That we were being saved, we are being saved, and he will save us in the future. That for so long as we have that faith, that is the process of salvation. It's part of our walk with Christ. It's not a once-off event. And it brought me back to a memory I had when I was a child. I used to live in Block 5 before we moved to Pakalani. Now, if you've ever been to Block 5, there are these 4-story apartment buildings. And there used to be mesh wire that goes all the way up to the top floor. And the children in the neighborhood, myself included, would race to the top of the building, 4 stories up, on that mesh. It was just a normal thing. I found kids doing it.
Yeah.
I did it, and other kids came after me, did it. You want to hear something crazy? No one's ever died. How do we explain that? This extremely dangerous act of climbing up, literally just wire mesh, 4 stories up, and then you climb all the way down and would race with all our friends. No one died. It's only like years later that council found out that children were doing this, and then they decided to remove the mesh wiring. But again, no one died. I contribute that to God. That was him saving me. Even when I didn't know I needed Savior. So yeah, that concludes my teaching today. So we can now, floor is open, we can now have a discussion about what was taught today.
Thank you for taking your time to listen to the sound clip. Feel free to comment in the comment section and meet us in person if and when you can. May God bless you.